Hey guys, welcome back to a new Flutter video. Today we are going to see how to work with multiple environments in Flutter. For that we first need to understand why it is required. So in real world projects we need to develop app for multiple environments such as development and production. Each of these environments have a different database, API configurations and are used by different people. So your testing team will use the development environment and your real users that are on Play Store or App Store, they will use the production environment. Whenever you build a new feature in your app, you build it first for the development environment, and once that is tested thoroughly, you roll out those features to the production environment. This is how real world development works. Now, not wasting enough time, let's get into the code part. So I have a new Flutter app created here. It's brand new, and I have run it on two different devices just to so that we can see the differences when we implement the environment features. So for that, let's just start by creating a environment file, and I'll name it env.dart. Now inside this we'll create a enum which will have two environments, development and production, and then we will create a class so that we can use that environment inside our app. So this is the code for that. We have a enum here which has development and production environment, and a class app environment which will be used everywhere in the app. Now this class has some properties: base API URL, which is just an example to show that whenever your backend is developed, they are also developed on multiple environments. So your development API URL might be different, the title for the app that may be different, and this is how we are going to configure it. So let's go in main.dart and let's just copy the main function here. Since main is the entry point of any Flutter app or any Dart app, basically we go ahead and create two new files. One will be main dev.dart, and we'll just paste the main method here, and we'll import it from material. We'll do the same thing for main prod, and similarly we'll import things from here. Just copy it. Now inside our main dev file we will set up the environment to the development environment. So how do we do that? It's basically very simple. We'll just call the app environment dot setup environment method that we created. So let's see the env file. We have a app environment class, and here we have a setup environment method, a static method. So we'll call that here, and we have passed environment.dev here because that method takes a environment enum. Now we'll do the same thing with prod, and here we'll pass environment.prod, and let's import these things from env. So now our main dev and main prod files are created. Now since we have removed the main method from main.dart, this is throwing error. For guys who are using Android Studio, you can change your configuration. I will show you how to do it, but let's restart the apps again, and this time we are going to use the new files that we have created. So I'll just cancel it and Flutter app, and here we'll set the target to main dev. So this is for iPhone 12 device, which is this left side one, and similarly we'll run the production environment on other device. So for iPhone 12 I'm going to run the development environment, and for 12 Pro we are going to run the production environment. Now how do we differentiate between these two? So for that I'm going to do is I'll just go to the home page widget, and here I'm going to change the title, and I'll pick it from environment. So I'll just call app environment dot title, and we'll import app environment from env. Okay, we need to remove cons from here. Cool. Now if we just restart the app, you can see this has changed to Flutter Flavors, and if we restart the development app, it will change to Flutter Flavors dev. Now similarly we can do many things using just these two files. So anything related to the Flutter code can be changed depending on the environment. Just like we can provide a different primary swatch for each of the environments, so that our users know exactly which app is which has which environment. So let's go ahead in development file, and inside app environment I will create a static variable which will be late, of course, because we are initializing everything inside the setup env function, and we'll define a color, and let's call it primary swatch, and I will import color from material. Okay, now here we'll define the primary swatch to be, let's say, colors dot red, and similarly for production we'll keep it blue because blue is good, and inside my app we are just going to change it to app environment dot primary swatch. And why it is giving error? Okay, it expects a material color, and we are providing a color here, so let's change it to material color. Okay, so now this should be good. Let's go to main.dat, and that error is gone. Let's just remove all these comments, they are of no use. So now all the comments are gone. Let's restart our app, and as you can see the development app is now red in color, and this one will be blue because we did not change it. Now we want to remove this debug label from the production environment only. We want to keep it inside the development environment. We'll just remove it from production environment. So for that also, like what we can do is we can go ahead to material app, and here we can set the debug check mode banner to true or false based on environment. So for that, what we can do is we'll add a switch statement, basically a conditional operator. So we'll check if app.environment is equal to environment.dev, then we'll return true, otherwise it will be false. So if the environment is a development environment, then we will show the banner, otherwise we will not show it. Let's restart this. So as you can see that from the production app, the debug label is gone. Now this is it for the Flutter part. You can definitely do many things using just this env file. As you will start creating the APIs, you can call your API URL based on the development environment or the production environment. So I've just created the variables here to show like how you can use it. And what about the native configurations? Like we know that two apps cannot have the same package name or the bundle IDs on Play Store and App Store, and we cannot give code access to the whole team. Like we cannot give code access to the testing team. We need to provide some APK or some IPAs so that the testing team can test those things. So we'll need to publish it somewhere on Play Store or on App Store or test flight based on the environments. So for that, how do we manage those things? So for Android, if you go into the Android folder, we have something called as product flavors, which we'll be talking about in the next video. And for iOS, we have something called Xcode schemes, which is equivalent of product flavors in Android. So yeah, in next video, see you guys, and we will discuss about the product flavors in Android in the next videos. So don't miss it. Yeah. Let us now see how to use Android product flavors to set native configurations for different environment. Now for that we need to go to the Android native documentation of product flavors. You can find it inside the build variants option. Now here we can set product flavor, and for that we need to define a flavor dimension and then the name of those product flavors. So in our case it will be a development and a production flavor. So I'll just copy this from here and then inside our Android curly braces we'll just paste it, and flavor inside flavor dimensions we'll keep it default. I'll let you know what this means and how this works actually, and we'll change it to dev. This will be prod, and for production we won't add any application ID suffix or any version suffix. Now what we want to do is we want to change the name of the app to something like Flavours dev for development environment, and we will leave it as it is for the production environment. So for that we need to define our string app name inside flavor dev as flavor dev, and then we'll use this app name inside android manifest.xml file. So let's do something similar for production environment also, and here we'll just name it flavors. Now inside android manifest.xml, if your android label is something else, you can just change it to @string and /app name. This is basically the name of the variable that we are going to provide using our flavors. Now let's close this app and run it using Flutter Flavours. Here we will define the target file, which is main.dev.dart, and then we will define a flavor, which is the development flavor, dev. This dev should match this, so you need to keep these things in mind. So let's wait for that. Now our app is installed, and let's check out the name of the app. So for that I will go ahead, and as you can see that we have Flavours dev here. Now let's do something similar for production app. So we'll change our target file to main prod, and then we'll change the flavor to prod, and let's see if we get another app or it overrides the current app. Now what does this dimension actually does? So if you have ever used Firebase or worked with Firebase, you know that we have to add a Google service.json file inside our src folder for Google sign in and dynamic links to work properly. Now with flavor dimension, we create two separate Firebase projects for dev and prod. Then we cannot add the same Google service.json file inside the src folder, because it will be like duplicate file. So for that we need the dimension, and by default dimension it means that the src folder will define the configuration of dev and prod environments. So inside src folder we can see that I have created a dev directory and a prod directory. So your Google service.json file will, for development environment, will go inside the dev directory, and for production environment it will go inside the prod directory. Now this is the basic use of product flavors. Now as we can see that our production environment is up and running. Now let's just check out if we have two apps or not. So we have a Flavours app, which is our production environment, and then we have a development app which has our dev environment. So now you can test out these two apps separately, and yeah, this is it for the Android product flavors part. This is very basic video, and I've just told you like how the product flavors is set up and how you can use it to separate out your native code and native configurations using these two folders. You can even create separate Android manifest file for these two folders, and it will automatically pick up whichever flavor is built. Thank you. Let's see you in the next video, where I will discuss the configuration similarly for the iOS part. In last video we saw how product flavors work with Android. Today we will work with the iOS folder, and for that we will have to open Xcode. So you can go ahead and open the iOS folder inside Xcode. You just have to click on open, and then go ahead in your project and click on the iOS folder and click on open. So this is our project. Currently we have debug, release and profile as configurations. So first of all we will need to create these configurations for our product flavors that we are going to use, which is dev and prod. So for that you have to click on this plus icon. First you have to click on this runner, then this screen will appear, and then you have to click on the plus icon and then duplicate debug. Similarly we'll duplicate release and duplicate profile configuration. Now for each of these we are going to create a dev and prod version. So release dev, Similarly, profile dev. Now the existing debug, release and profile configurations, we can rename them as debug prod, release prod and profile prod. So debug is basically when you are running the app. Release is when you are using archive to use the release configuration, and profile is when you are targeting a specific device. So here you can see that we have run test, profile, analyze, and we'll see how these things work. First we need to edit the configurations. So this will be debug prod, similarly this will be release prod, this will be profile prod. Now the documentation to all these steps can be found on the official Apple documentation page. Inside the customize the build schemes for a project, and you will get a very detailed text for why we are doing these things. You can study these things in detail if you want. Now here as we can see that we don't have any scheme right now. So what we'll do is we'll create a new scheme, and we'll name it dev, and then we'll create one more scheme and we'll name it prod, and the target will be runner because our target is runner. Okay, and let's go ahead and see manage schemes. Now here we have a default runner scheme which was already running, and we have created two more schemes, dev and prod, so we don't need to actually use this runner scheme anymore, so we'll delete it. Now we'll just double click on dev and start the configuration. So for build we are going to use target runner for the dev configuration. For running we will use debug dev, and for testing, similarly for testing we are going to use debug dev. For profiling also we will use release profile dev. For analyzing we will use debug dev. For archiving we will use release dev. For profiling also we are going to use release dev. Now this is the configuration that you need to define to get your schemes to work. So let's check it once again. For build we are going to use the target runner. For running our build in debug mode we'll use the debug dev configuration. Similarly for testing also we will use the debug dev. For profiling we will use the release dev. I'm setting all these things to dev because we are inside the dev scheme. Similarly for analyzing also we'll use debug dev, and for archiving, that means when you are going to release your app to TestFlight or App Store, we'll use the release configuration. We can close this, and now we will just do the same thing for prod. So for prod I think you don't need to change anything because it will already be set to the prod version of each profiles. So for prod we'll just check it once again. For testing we are using debug prod. For profiling we are using release prod. Similarly for analyzing we are using debug prod, and for archiving we are using release prod. So yeah, this is correct. Now let's go ahead and see our Flutter Flavours app with two configurations. So we'll just run flutter run -t. We'll run a main dev.dart configuration. So this should give error actually because we are not defining the scheme in this command. Now for that we'll need to specify the flavor option. So let's go ahead and specify the flavor option, and this will be, since we are running main dev.dart, we will use the flavor dev. Now similarly for prod, we are going to use main prod, and then we will define the flavor as prod. Now we'll see that we will get two apps here. Okay, we got some error. So the error says that requested but did not find extension point with identifier. So remember that we added a .dev to our bundle ID with the dev configuration when we were building for Android. So we can see that the prod build has run successfully because we did not change the bundle identifier. It was same as the original one. So for solving this, we'll go to Xcode and then we'll click on runner. Now we will go inside target, and then we will change the extension to .dev for all the dev configuration. So for debug dev, I'm going to append .dev here. Similarly for release, and similarly for prod profile. Sorry. Now if we run our app, it should open the dev app successfully. Let's just wait and see. Now as you can see, our development app is also running alongside our production app. So what is the issue here? The issue will be regarding the name, because we did not change the bundle name. So we have two apps here with the same name, Flutter Flavors and Flutter Flavors. So how are we going to identify like which one is our dev? We will have to open it every time to see which is dev configuration and which is running on prod configuration. So let's fix this, and for that we'll again go to runner and inside target, just like we changed the bundle ID for each of the configuration, we are going to change the display name for each of the configuration. So this display name comes from the info.plist file, and which is the bundle name. So let's just change it, and we'll store it in a variable, and we'll name it product display name. Now how are we going to define the values of this variable? So for that we'll go in build settings, and here we'll click on this plus and add a user defined setting, and here we'll just paste the variable name, and now we will define it for each of the configuration. So for development I'm going to use flavors dev. That's it. Now let's just copy this to all the dev configurations. Similarly for release dev, and now for prod we'll just let it be Flutter Flavors. We'll just copy it for profile prod and also for release prod. So now we have our configuration set, and now if we kill our apps and then rerun it, similarly for the production one, we'll see that the names will appear here. So we have our Flutter Flavors prod app here, and we have our dev app also running. Okay, so looks like we messed up something. So let's go back and check if we did it right or not. Because the display name here still shows Flutter Flavors. We'll go again to our info.plist file and then we'll search for the display name. Okay, so we changed the bundle name, but we had to change the bundle display name. So I'll just change it back and use the variable here. Now this will automatically change. Okay, so let's rerun the apps again. The prod one will remain same, so that does not matter. The main thing is for the development one. So as we can see that the production build is ready and also the development build. So let's check again. Now here we can see that the production app has Flutter Flavors name and the development app has Flavours dev name. So this is how you configure your environments using iOS schemes on iOS apps. That's it for today's video. We'll see you in the next videos.